All right. We are on our first location videoing with Rick Yockey at Fifth Third. Super excited to be here. Rick, tell us a little bit about yourself and the company you work for.
Okay. I've been in the mortgage industry since 2004. Totally new to the industry when I moved into it. I'd worked manufacturing previously, Six Sigma quality control. I was a production manager for Philips Electronic up in Ottawa, Ohio. Spent a couple of years at Southern Ohio Medical Center, working for Randy Arnett on the administrative staff, and kept going to the bank at PNC, or National City at the time, in Portsmouth. And every time I walked in there, Phil Raines, who was the president at the time, he kept asking me would I consider coming into banking, and I knew nothing about banking. After about a year of arm twisting, I agreed to make the move, and went into to the mortgage segment of the bank, and within a year or two, we were one of the top 200 lenders in the nation.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
I've been here at Fifth Third now for about 10 years total, and really enjoy being here. The products we have, it's a little bit different working for an Ohio-based bank. You know, a lot of times people say, well, we don't have any community banks left. Well, we're about as community as you can get, with our headquarters being just 90 miles down the road. So.
That's awesome. Okay. And you are a preferred lender, so we really appreciate you. We think you're great, and we've had a lot of good experiences with you. So, awesome. Okay, so I want to know what you love most about your job.
The thing I love most about my job is probably educating. I've always considered myself, whether it was in healthcare, manufacturing, or even the ministry before that, I've always considered myself an educator. So I really, get the biggest thrill about educating folks. I do a lot on social media, as you're aware of.
Right, yes.
And most of those pieces are not designed to bring people here, but more to educate home buyers. Going from that, I really enjoy educating first-time home buyers. I think that's the biggest thrill that I get personally, is when I see somebody who walks in here thinking they can not own a home, they don't have a large enough down payment, their credit scores aren't good enough, or maybe they got some work to do. And then to see them actually get the keys to the home. I mean, there's been many times at closings I've actually broken down in tears because I know the whole story. And as you are aware, Josh, we do a lot with the counseling center. And some of those folks, they're just, they're just really emotional journeys. Sure. Walking, remember when they first walked into the office, and then see them at the closing table and the joy they have, because it was something totally unattainable for most of them 5-6 years ago.
Right.
And that's the thing I always stress with the first time home buyer that walks in. The answer may not be yes right now. The answer's not no. It's not yet. We'll get you to the point where you can purchase a home, and then closely relate that. And I love working with veterans. It really, on a personal level, really burns me up when I see veterans go to online lenders, get charged exorbitant fees for something they can do locally. We are a direct VA lender. A lot of folks don't realize that. We have our own VA underwriters. They underwrite the file to VA standards. They order the appraisal in-house, and we waive all of our fees for veterans. So basically all they're going to do is just pay their normal closing costs.
Oh wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So that's a big thrill. I come from a military family, and my heart just really goes out to our veterans.
Right.
Many of them have put off home ownership for years because of the service. They sacrificed the opportunity to own a home, and now we want to do everything we can to get them into a home. Yeah.
I love that. Well, I know I personally have had three, I think in the last 6 months, three buyers that have talked to you in the past or actually used you, and they were like, well, we want to go back to Rick because he was so great. And I always think that that's one of the biggest compliments you can get as a business professional.
Absolutely.
Is a reoccurring client and someone that says that. And so I think that really, speaks for itself and what great service that you provide to our clients.
Yeah, over the last 20 years, we've helped over 4,300 local households buy homes, purchase homes. So we have a huge past client base, and Many of them over the years have followed me from bank to bank, and they continue to come back. And one of the things that I take pride in is that our OSAT, which is the way we measure our customer service score here within the bank, it's usually always 5.0. We very seldom have a client
complain
right. about anything. So
that's good. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's the optimum level of service.
That's it.
It's through. That's funny. So
pun fully intended.
Yeah, absolutely. Every chance, right? So, what do you find most challenging about your job?
There's a couple things. Having worked for 3 different banks, underwriting is what it is. Okay, so
right.
Underwriting is always going to be a challenge. The way you overcome that is to be abreast of all the changes in the industry, keep up on the guidelines, and I think that's one of the reasons why our files flow fairly smoothly, is because Linda and I both keep up on the changes, what's happening within the industry. So, but I think the biggest challenge we have today is that the customers have changed. When somebody walks into my office, I pretty much know how I have to interact with that person as far as technology and so forth. The younger generation is more tied to their phones, and we all know that.
Right.
They don't really understand how important documentation is when it comes to a mortgage loan. Some of them have purchased cars in the past. Very easy experience. You walk in there, give them a paycheck, and you walk off a new car. What people don't understand about the mortgage industry, it is not a science. I've shared this many, many times. Used to teach real estate finance at Shawnee for a number of years in the evening, training new realtors, and I'd always bring this into the discussion. What we are doing is not a science. Okay, we are basically trying to make a decision based upon the last 2 years of somebody's life. We're not looking back what happened 5 years ago, nor can we predict what's going to happen 10 years down the road. If you look at my life, your life, Hannah's life over the last 10 years, think about all the changes that have happened. We are loaning hundreds of thousands of dollars over decades of time. We're making that decision based upon a 2-year snapshot.
Right.
Where have you worked the last 2 years? Okay. Are you going to have that job 2 years from now? We don't know. Okay. You've been married to this wonderful woman by your side for 10 years, but what happens if she comes home and says, hey, I want a divorce? How's that going to affect your finances? So all those life changes we can't predict. So that's why we have to document everything carefully, because we're trying to determine from this 2-year snapshot, do you have the character to pay back those hundreds of thousands of dollars over decades of time? You tell me how that's ever going to be a science. It's never going to be a science.
Right.
Okay? So
that's interesting. That's a good way to say it.
That's why the documentation is so important. And what really is a challenge today is some of the young people, they think if I send them a snapshot through text to my personal device, okay, that is a no-no, because then I have to find a way to get it to here without violating any company. They think that they have fulfilled their documentation requirements. So it's really educating the younger borrowers today that, hey, this is a very serious process. The quicker you can get the documentation into me, the quicker the loan is going to flow. It's the ones that we have problems with extensions and so forth, typically, and if you look at the root cause, it's usually because it's been 2 to 3 weeks before we can submit the file to underwriting, because we're still waiting on the basic documentation. We're waiting on those 30-day pay stubs. We're waiting on those 2 years W-2s. We're waiting on a 2-month bank statement. And so that's what the biggest challenge today is, working with a different type of client base. And the other thing I think we see today is that there's really a lack of loyalty or commitment. People will go out and get in a hurry and sign a $200,000 contract, and you put the loan on and you get the title work order and so forth. Then they'll wake up the next morning, have some type of remorse, whether it's buyer's remorse, getting out of the contract. We see this so often today, and we didn't see that 10 or 15 years ago. We didn't see that. People honored their word, they honored their contract, and if there was a valid reason, of course they would get out of the contract. But it's just like I don't really,
more of a whim.
Whim.
I just changed my mind.
So.
Yeah.
But I think those are the biggest challenges today is working with the Gen Z borrower, the person who's just graduating to get them to realize what a serious transaction this is and the reasons it is so serious.
Right.
And again, we do our best to try to educate them up front. We've got checklists we've developed and everything else to just really try to keep
keep them on. Yeah.
keep it on track.
That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, but there's definitely generational
Generational differences.
yeah,
for
and
sure.
how you deal with folks. Yeah.
Yeah. People are people.